Really appreciated.
Hey Spatey, I'm not going to be on the server today. Some of the others.
Underscore said test 2.
Hey, hey Stania. Yeah, I'm not on the server today, matey. The others are. Following on from me being ill, I spent 2 to 3 weeks going through some of the stuff, purely and simply just to make sure that my head is back to normal. I think it's there. I'm just going to do the A10CII today from scratch, and then next week I'll be back to normal, I think, on the server. How are you, matey? How's things going? And welcome, Stanya, by the way. Just cleaning my glasses. I've got a cup of tea, and then I literally am going to go from scratch on here.
Spatey said, no worries.
How's things going? You've been out on the bike yet? And I guess you're avoiding this weekend with the forecast that we've got. It looks awful. Right. Just give it a minute. I am going to drink a cup of tea before I start, because once I start, it's going to be one of those where I just talk and talk. If anyone's got any questions, I know there's not many on at the moment, but I'll give it a minute or two. If you got any questions while we're waiting, please jump in. I'll put my... there you go. Oh, excuse me. That's for the benefit of the people who don't know me. And it might put a few people off, because I'm, one of the old farts, amongst many others. I assume the audio's okay for everybody. Let's move this over. Let's move that over. Right, it's got too many windows, but hey ho. Anyway, so what I'll be doing today is jumping in the A10, going through one of my training sessions from scratch, which includes startup, takeoff, some bits and bobs of information. Yeah, okay. I've put it on YouTube as well, and I've put it on 1080p this week. Just so that anybody on YouTube can actually communicate, otherwise there's a 1 second delay. As much as I can stream in 4K and it looks absolutely stunning, it does mean there's a delay of about a minute between someone asking a question and me being aware of it. And also, because it's not read out, it makes it a little bit difficult for me to keep up, but hey ho. So I am going to drink my cup of tea, and then I'll get cracking. If anyone's got any questions on the A10 in the meantime, please ask. Do I know everything? Can I answer everything? No, not at all. But I know enough to get anybody in an A10 playing, and it is one of these planes that is a long game as well. I've also, surprisingly, and I know this will surprise some of you, purchased the MiG-29, is it? Just because it's different. I might get round to it. I'll probably have to get in the F-16 first, really, and have a play with that, and back to the F-18. Anyhow, what's anybody up to at the moment? And if anybody's on YouTube, welcome. Can't quite tell at the moment unless somebody speaks.
I look forward to seeing you fly it in 5 years.
Is it an Eagle Dynamics thing, is it? Which means it's going to come out with maybe some tyres and a bit of modelling, or is it made by someone else where it's going to come out and work in one? I was checking, I mean, the F-16's still in beta, isn't it? According to the shop. And I know when it come out, they rushed it out and they admitted it because there was some other launcher, some other plane. The trouble is, it's like Star Citizen, they get tied down to specifics. Ah, right, okay. So yeah, 5 years, you're probably about right as well. And I'm just wondering what this wind is, because last time when we were doing helicopters, I'd overcooked it a little bit, and I've changed missions because of this bloody, it looks like on version 25 all this dynamic stuff has been implemented, and it's a pain in the ass if you're picking up a mission that someone else has done. It is painful. What we got, 7 meters a second. That's fast. That's going to be incredibly windy. I never used to put it on at that, I'm telling you. I think it was an update changed it. It changed 7 feet a second into 7 meters a second, I bet you. But as you can see, it's quite windy. But I will probably only be able to get as far as the 65D Mavericks in this, to be honest. I might be able to take or come back for a couple of things. We'll see how the time goes, and you'll see the differences. You can see there's quite a wind, judging by the smoke over there, and that has quite an impact on some of the weapons.
15 miles per hour. You'll be good.
What's 15 miles an hour? Oh, 7 meters a second. 15 miles an hour. Oh yeah, it's nothing, is it? See, I'm that old, right? I can't judge meters a second, kilograms or kilometres unless I convert it, and I'm not going to convert meters a second to miles an hour. Not when you've got people like Spatey who'll just do it for you anyway. In old money, yeah.
Me too.
It's quite funny. It's all the team that works for me are all relatively young, as they always are, because I'm so old. None of my humorous jokes land, and references I make just go out the window. Do you know what I mean? It's just one of those things, isn't it? Admittedly, they're mostly European, so again, you know, the humour's obviously different. But still, I'm just trying to educate them. I'll just finish my cup of tea, switch the camera off, and then I'll get cracking. Hey, hello, Chonkon. Is it? Yeah, it is Chonkon. Welcome back to the channel. So it is going to be 18. Please feel free to ask any questions, and we'll get going as soon as I've finished my cup of tea, which is the main thing. I'm already, you can hear my voice is hoarse. Working 2 days of 13 hours catches up with me, and it sort of makes it sound, you know, like I'm tired. I'm not, but it does have an effect nowadays. I don't think I could do 26 hours straight through, which I've done before in the past.
What's the server and what's the flight?
This is literally just a training flight on this one, and I'm just going through the A10 from scratch and explaining probably my 65Ds. I may be able to come back on the time I've got and pick up some 65Hs just to show the difference, and also some cluster bombs, especially in this wind. You see the issues and how you can affect it. Hey Barbie, thank you very much, matey. Has that time gone quick? Every time somebody subs I look and I think, geez. Right, this is a training mission, as I said. The main server is still up, where there is a proper mission. This one is just so I can go through this without the disturbances of things shooting at me, etc. So basically, we're in that A10C, otherwise known as the... What did they call it? Oh, for God's sake. They called it something different for some unknown reason. All it is a more advanced version of the A10C. It's the A10C2. The Tank Buster, is it, or something they called it, which it's always been able to do that. If you look on the outside, there's a couple of little differences. So there used to be a 5 penny little laser hanging off the side there. When they changed the model, they put some
Says
venting
YouTube
ducts.
is just slightly faster than Twitch, FYI.
Is it really? Oh, right, okay. That's only because I'm running at 1080. And I'm shoving a bit more data down, although it varies. Normally when I run it, there's a minute delay. But if you look...
Said, hi, how is it going?
Hey, hello, Irox. All good, thank you. So if you look, I can't point, but just inside the wingy thing there, between the body and the first wingy thing, you can just see a little piece of metal on there, and this lifts up.
It's me, Adam.
I thought it was. I thought it was another variation of your name, Atom. I wasn't sure, so I edged my bets, but I did think it was you. I mentioned you to Lisa the other day. She was quite pleased everything's okay. So that, when you fire the gun, there's so much smoke comes out the gun, it goes over the wing and it will basically exhaust or take out the engines. So this little plate lifts up to divert the smoke over the top. Okay? In game, it does nothing. And it never was on the original 10C model. So I'm pointing out if anyone sees it and wonders what it is. Inside, there's a few changes as well. There's a panel here that has disappeared. There's a panel down here, somewhere down here, for the helmet mounted queuing sight. One of the radios has changed completely, and that's about it really. So anyway, before I start, if anyone's got any questions, please jump in and ask. I'll be going through the startup, every single little bit to get up and going. We'll be taking some Maverick Ds with us, which is fairly basic. It's your mainstay weapon basically on the A10 for ground combat. Obviously we've got no SAMs around, so we can fly whatever height we like. And I'll see how much time I've got once I've gone out and dropped this load and come back from there. I have got a persistent cough for those that are new to the channel, so I will sort of be muting the channel and coughing occasionally. If it goes quiet and you see the mouse moving and me moving, remind me that I forgot to unmute my mic. Excuse me. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do to get this started is have a look down on the right hand side and you'll see two rows of switches. Okay, over on the far right one we've got battery power, and there is something I haven't done, I just need to do it, make sure everything's synced up. Right, you see battery power, so I'm going to switch battery power on and you'll see all the alarms come on. Like every other module, the idea of starting this thing up is to make sure you've got no alarms showing at the end of it. We're going to switch the inverter on, and then we're going to turn around and look down to the left hand side. Now unfortunately, one of the things they added in was this high handle, and this high handle covers some of the switches that we want to see. So what you can do is, by using on the keyboard a right control, right shift, number 4 and 6, it allows you to move side to side. So by using that function,
975 said, just pull it to move it.
you alright, matey? So if we go down here and have a little look, you can see just down here we've got something called APU start. Okay, so we're going to press that forward. We would press it forward if I press the APU start button on my throttle. There we go. And if we look over to the bottom right of the dash, there's two dials here. One's an APU percentage power, one's an APU exhaust gas temperature. You'll see the exhaust gas temperature increase and then start to drop. And you'll see the APU itself start to increase. And you'll hear the pitch slightly change when it gets to 100. When it gets to 100, you know that it's ready to use.
Trying to find a new normal. My mum passed away on the 12th, 72 years old. But I am managing.
Ah, right, yeah, Arthur. I know what that's like. My mum made a little bit older.
Pedro_McLeod said, morning to one and all.
Morning, Yam. That's interesting, isn't it? What the hell's gone on here? Sounds like it started.
After Cosford tomorrow.
Off to Cosford. Oh, right. What's on? Air show. Right, let's have a look. That's my APU pal. I'm surprised that one's gone down, but we'll see. Right, okay, so yeah, you will do if you're not careful. So what I'm now going to do is pop the why the engine's on? Oh, that's why. Okay, let's try that. We're going to put the APU generator on. The engines tried to start up as well, didn't they? That's because, as I was saying earlier, the engines were not in sync, but I'll sort that in a minute. So one of the things you want to do, if you're going to fly it properly, in terms of go through the startup, you want to put your radios on first of all, okay? So there's 3 radios. There's one, by the way, sorry, the back one. There's the middle one, and they are all different. And I am getting confused with both of my radios now. There we go. And then there's one over here. And that one should come on. And then we're going to radio through to the ground crew, or to the ATC, should I say. This is why I'm running through this, to see what I can pick up and remember. So basically we asked for permission to start the plane. Okay, so it shouldn't be in the starting position yet. If you look here, we've got the forward radio, the mid and the aft. One's AM, one's FM, and then you've got UHF, which is usually in the middle. If we have a look at the F10 map and we click on the airbase, if you look down here, you'll see what channel we're on. Now there's a number of different radio frequencies, and this covers some of the different aircraft, and the one we were interested in is this one, and you can see it says 122. So if I change this down to 122 just by clicking this, when we do a radio call, we go ATC, Krasnodar Center, request startup.
Krasnodar, POG 4, request startup.
And we should get a response. Okay, so we can do startup. Now in the A10CII, and I think they changed the switching on the A10C as well, they changed some of the default switch positions such that when you start up, it's as though your ground crew have jumped into your plane and flicked a few switches ready for when you get in. And as a consequence, the fuel ones over here, sorry, not the fuel, the generator ones are already on, and the fuel. So all you've got to do is move the left throttle from off or locked to idle, and you'll see engine start cycle coming on, and the left column of gauges slowly starting to rotate. If you notice now, you see the APU's up at 100%, which is what was hissing. And that's the exhaust gas temperature, as I said, but because the engines were actually coming on and it wasn't ready for it, that's why these needles went down. So I'm glad I'm not recording this for a video, because I would have had to start all over again. As the engines come on, or the left engine, because the generators are on already, we're getting a master caution. Okay, if we look down here at the master caution, on the warning panel, you'll see it says APU gen, and that was flashing, and all it's telling us is the APU generator is on at the same time as the AC generators. Back in the previous days, the startup was you didn't put these generators on till right at the end, and then you would naturally switch this off. However, nowadays you'll see that alarm and see the flashing start. Once this light is exhausted, and that doesn't mean tired. Once it goes out, that's better. You can start the right hand engine, and again, lift up the throttle, move it forward. If you don't have throttles that lift up, then I believe it's right shift and home and right alt and home and right control at home. Again, you'll see the second engine starting, and this is this column of lights. So while we're waiting for the engines to start, we're going to switch the MFCDs on. So I was just coughing there. We're going to go down here. We're going to switch. There's 3 switches beneath the left-hand MFCD. That's CICU or KICU, JTRS or jitters, and IFC. We're going to move it up 1 click, which is to test. And you should see your HUD come on. When your HUD comes on, it says engage pre-flight bit. So what it's saying is, do you want to engage the pre-flight built-in test? And normally you would say yes. So we use the enter key on the upfront controller, which is this panel here. And as soon as you hit that, it starts a test. Time for another coffee. Right, okay, so both engines are started up, the IFS is on. We're also going to go down here and we're going to switch on our lights first of all, which I should have put on to position flash, and that's just to let people know that we're starting up. When you put your lights on position flash, it flashes the lights on the edge. However, there is another switch which is left control and P. If these lights are in this position and they don't come on when you switch them on, you need to press left control or P, or if you've got a Warthog, you move the left hand pinky switch to the rear position. Right, what we also need to do is switch on 2 toggle switches underneath the CDU. CDU is the central data unit, and we need to switch on the EGI, which is the embedded GPS and inertial navigation system, and then switch on the CDU itself. So the CDU is effectively a database. It's got all the waypoints in, all your positioning and everything, and we'll see that in a minute when it's all running up. I'm amazed that I've remembered some of the stuff that I've remembered already. Let's carry on switching these on because they're on night mode. Now we can see them, okay? It says there's no speed there. Okay, I'm just going to acknowledge that for now. Right, so whilst that's starting up, one of the things we can do while we're waiting is get some weapons loaded. So I'm going to call up the weapon screen, which is left alt and apostrophe on a UK keyboard. If we go on to select loadout, if I scroll down, there's one that I've built previously and saved called MAV65D, and that's it. So we've got some aims, we've got a TGP or targeting pod, we've got 3 65Ds there and 3 65Ds there. We've also got electronic countermeasures system. When I press, let's move the flares and chaff up. Right, when I press OK, we should see a message come up on the top left, and we should also see the words copy. If we do not see copy, it means that the ground crew haven't heard us, okay?
Request refueling. Request rearming.
Okay, now this copy, it is a little bit hit and miss. Now I haven't put the canopy down yet, I'm just going to do that now, and that's with the right hand
Refueling complete.
side here. We're going to press this down and the canopy will close and it'll get quieter in the cockpit. Now, sometimes you can be somewhere, and if you don't get a copy, you're not going to get refueled, you're not going to get any weapons. And it might happen when you come back and land. Some air bases, I've noticed that where you start from, you don't get a copy, and you've got a radio selector knob right at the back on your left butt cheek over here, and you can see it's currently selected to VHF. And all you need to do is, if you don't get a response and you're in a place where you should be able to rearm reload, you simply turn this 2 clicks to int or intercom, and then you should get a response. If you don't get a response, then it may be the base you've landed at doesn't have any weapons or fuel to refuel you with, okay? Right, so let's go down here, and we'll just acknowledge that, and I'll explain that one in a minute. Right, this is finished now, so we're going to accept the fact it's finished by clicking on the exit, and we do that again with the enter key on the upfront controller. We then use this select rocker switch to move the little caret or greater than symbol down and put it next to exit, and we'll hit enter again. And this is back at the main menu, and when it comes to the main menu, it does say that on the top. If I lower myself in my seat, it says there, then we can switch this switch up, and you'll now see your HUD. The HUD currently is too high, that's why we couldn't see anything. So over on the left hand side here, there's a little flat switch. If we look here, don't pull this, pull this one, says seat up, seat down. So once we start holding that button down, we can look here and see where that's coming to. So if we hold it, let's go that way, bring this down until this is disappearing just off the bottom, okay? Not quite that much. And you'll find you should see this center pointer there. Now, if you want to look here, just lean forward. Obviously, if you haven't got head tracking, that's going to be just a little bit more difficult. And it depends where I'm sitting exactly as to how much I can see. If there's not enough info in there, I just might have to change my seat position or recenter the camera. Okay, where are we? Right. So if we look at the right hand screen and we switch it to CDU, this is a mirror of the CDU, which is down here, and this saves us looking down to the right. If we put this one on over here, and I'll put that one on to dismiss. So if we look here, we can see that it says INS nav ready and it's flashing. And if we look at the timer, it says 4008. So from when I switched the CDU on, this has taken 4 minutes, believe it or not, to get to here. So as I've explained everything, you can see it takes quite a bit of time. Normally when you're in the plane and you're starting it up yourself, you'll find that you've got to wait for this to happen. You can, right, line this while you're flying in the air. And typically that would only ever be done if you've scrambled and you're off in an emergency. It's better ideally to do it on the floor. Once INS nav ready is flashing and the timer is 4008, you hit the button next to nav. Okay? If you come down then behind the joystick, you'll see there's 2 lights. One says HARS, one says TCN. If you look here at the artificial horizon, you'll see there's a bar and a red flag. Once you move these over, right, we're going to move this one to EGI or EGI. So we're using embedded GPS inertial navigation system for our navigation. HARS is an old one and is there as a backup. I don't know whether it's functional or not. I've never used it. We then switch where it says steer point. So it's abbreviated to STRPT, and when we click it, you'll see this needle turn, and this will be set to 0. Slightly to the left, we've got a little flag over the standby attitude indicator. So if all your main systems go down, which they can do, you can utilise this one, and we just turn it left, and level out the flag there. As we move down here, just beneath the two throttles, let me zoom in, there's two switches. One is sorry, I forgot the other bit. I'm so glad I'm doing this now, I tell you. If we look over here, there's two pairs of switches called SAS, Stability Augmentation Systems. We've got one for the yaw and one for the pitch. And what this does is smooths out your input to your joystick. So you'll find when you fly this plane, it is really quite smooth, and this is why. So we're going to switch these on. They all go forward. And now if we look at these switches, there's two. One of them, let's get into a better position there. One's EAC, and we're going to switch that forward. And the other one is one of those buttons that have now been switched on by your ground crew. So I tend to make sure that my throttle is synced to it by switching it off and back on again. Okay? When we look over to the right alarms panel, we'll see there should be three issues: anti-skid, seat not armed, APU generator. The anti-skid, if you move across and look at the left hand MFCD, MFCD stands for multi-function coloured display, because look, it's got red and green. If we move along down here, you'll come to the anti-skid button, a little toggle switch. Okay, so just follow their diagonal and there it is. If we go down to the right now, you see we've got less lights. So we've got the APU on and we don't need it anymore, so we can switch it off. And over to the left we've got the APU starter on here, which we don't need anymore, and we can switch that one off. And you can hear it goes quite a bit quieter. Now we haven't got the seat armed yet, but to be honest, we're inside a hangar and there are accidents, so I personally think, why would I want to arm the seat sitting in a hangar? Okay, I would wait. Now earlier on we had a little message come up, and we also, when I switched to the DMS or DSMS, Digital Stores Management System, it was telling us there was an error and it was alerting me to this. Now if we look outside the plane, you'll see we've got all the weapons that are selected. So what I need to do is update my internal electronic inventory. So the fact that we started the plane and then added some weapons, it's assumed from a data cartridge that you hadn't got a loadout, and it's now indicated that you've got a loadout and I have no idea what it is. Okay, if we look in the bottom of the hood, there should be an error flashing. I've probably gone past it already, but never mind. That if you're looking that way, you'll see it flashing on the bottom. So what we need to do is update the inventory, and we do this by pressing and holding one of the soft select buttons on the bottom. So I'll use MAV in this instance. I'll press and hold it, and then we'll see a whole load of options come up. You can set any of these switches to any of these options, and the one we want now is load. We need to get back to where we were at the beginning when the plane come on. So I'm going to select load and click on Maverick, and you see how it's now put load on the bottom. When I press it, this is the screen that we saw at the bottom. Now I haven't done a load all yet, but what I'm going to do is do a load all, and it's going to go through the data cartridge, load the TAD, the dismiss, the TGP data and everything. And you'll see after probably about 20 seconds or so, the little circles come back. Okay, and that means it's loaded all the data off the cartridge. Once it's done that, you've got more information available to you on the plane. Now, if you had already done this at the beginning when it came up, which is what most people do, and then you load buttons, you need to click on just the load dismiss. So I'll click that just to show you. You can do it separately. That means you're not doing all of this and this will come back within 4 seconds. Now when you click on dismiss, you'll see that the aircraft is aware of your weapon loadout. If we go and click TAD, we can see the tactical air display. Now, one of the things that I always say is never try and learn more than one aircraft at a time. The reason being is there's lots of acronyms, and the trouble is with acronyms is there's not consistency between aircraft. So on some of the aircraft it's MFDs or MFCDs, on some of them it's DDI. I think there's more variations on that, and if you're trying to learn, it's incredibly confusing. So I would always suggest learn one aircraft at a time. The other thing I would wholly recommend is don't necessarily go and find somebody else's profile because it matches your joystick and somebody else's startup. What you'll find will happen is you'll be stuck to that profile and startup for a little bit longer than if you wrote your own. The problem is with writing your own is you don't know what you need to do when you don't know it. So what I would suggest is get the basics down, which are all in the manual, and I mean the basics for flying the plane. Startup is much of a muchness. You'll see some videos where people are going, start it all up in 5 minutes. Well, if you want to do that, play War Thunder. If part of the startup is something that you're not bothered about and some of the other things, then there's an element of you'll be spending a lot of time doing things that are unnecessary, if you see what I mean. And War Thunder's a good game for just jumping in, getting going and shooting shit. Hey pup, you alright? So, while I'm here, if we look, this is the tab, and we can see a map behind it. Now, at the moment, it says not SOI. So SOI means sensor of interest. This aircraft has a number of sensors. The TGP, which is on the wing, has a sensor. The Mavericks have sensors. The hood is a sensor, okay? The helmet mounted sight, which I haven't even switched on yet, is a sensor. So because you've got 4 to 5 different sensors you can have selected, you need to know which one is active, because when you make input with a stick in certain functions, it affects only the active one. For instance, at the moment this isn't active, so if I want to zoom in, I use my data management switch, and that's not zooming in at all, and that's because the wrong sensor is selected. Okay, if I select the sensor I want, I can either select this button here and you'll see a green box, and this tells me that this is the selected sensor. If it's got text saying not SOI, it means it's not the sensor of interest. By the way, I might be rabbiting on, and I'm going to be rabbiting on for a long time today, so please, if you've got any questions, just jump in and ask. Right? I don't mind. I should be able to go straight back to where I was when I finished. This is part of me testing myself because of me being ill a few weeks back, so I wouldn't have remembered any of this, so I'm just making sure I do. If you've got the sensor select mapped to a hat, you can use it just by pressing the hat on what we call a long left. Okay, so long left will select the left MFCD. Okay, a long left, and you've got access to it, so it means you don't have to take your hands off the controls. Now when I try and zoom in, you'll see, or zoom out even, I've got control of the map. As I zoom out, not only can I see the map, I can also see a number of green boxes, some circles, a dartboard, and if I move my little doodad, which is like a hat with a mouse on it, it moves the cross. Okay, these circles give you a ranging. So if you look at the top right, it says 80 miles. So it's 80 miles to this outer circle. The one inside it is half the size. That means that it's 40 miles to the circle. In between is halfway between 40 and 80, which is going to be 60. And again, you can estimate halfway between where you are and here is 20. Okay? If you look on the inner circle, you've got the compass points. This is north, this is east, south, and west. So you can see from here which way you're going and how far away something is. As I zoom in, you'll see this changes. Not only does this change, but underneath, the scale changes too. So when we go down to 40, we're on the same map scale, but now the outer circle is 40. As we go in again, the outer circle is now 20, and it's changed the map, and it's got a little bit more detail. When I go in again, we can get down to 10, and it's changed the level of detail again. No, it hasn't, it's on the same. When we get down to 5, it changes the level of detail again. Okay? And we can't go in any more than that. So now 5 mile, 2.5 mile, in between the two is halfway, and halfway to 2.5 from there. Okay? Which is 1.25 in there, if you were wondering. Is everybody okay with that? Now, on some areas of this map, now bear in mind, if you look, you can see writing on the map. I'm not sure what that says. But if you look, there's all sorts of writing, and these are literally digitized versions of the maps. Okay? So sometimes, if they haven't got part of the map at the scale you want to see it, the outside will be black. So you'll have a black map and nothing. And there are areas where you won't see anything, but I don't think we'll be going there today. If you can't cope without having some sort of map behind there, you can go and select, right, a scale that you like. Could be this one. And if you change the map from auto to manual, right, it doesn't matter how much you zoom in, you'll always have a map there. But obviously, as you zoom all the way out, it's not going to look quite as good, and when you zoom all the way in, you'll get more detail. So that way round, it will allow you to use a map all the way through. But if you look at the scale stays exactly the same. Now, although I am going through all of this, I don't expect you to remember it, but it's enough to sort of have an inkling or an idea. Learning the A10CII is quite difficult. It will take a number of hours. When I've taught it in the past on a one-to-one basis, I've spent 60 hours spread over 6 months to get somebody knowing a lot of what I know. Okay, so it isn't something that you're going to just jump into and fly away. Usually you'll want this on auto. Right, as I mentioned before, there's green boxes with numbers. These are points set up as waypoints in the CDU. So you can either have all these set up by the person who designs the mission, which in most cases you'll have them, or you can configure your own. It's entirely up to you. However, even though they're on here, they're not actually selected for a flight plan yet. If we go down here and we look at the CDU, if we select FPM or flight plan menu, right, you'll see here that it says auto, right? Now this basically, first of all, this is the flight plan. If we click in here, right, we can see there's a number of points. If we go down, there's a rocker here. These are all the points in that flight plan. So even though it's selected there, we need to select it in another place too. For instance, if I simply created a new flight plan called Fred just by typing in FRED and clicking this button here, now we've got a flight plan called Fred. This little asterisk tells me that the flight plan is selected. the auto tells me that when I get to a waypoint, it's going to automatically switch to the next point. And that's not normally what you would want. So you want to manually switch waypoints, right? Because if you want to go to a target at, say, waypoint 1, what will happen is that when you get to waypoint 1, it'll switch to waypoint 2, and then you won't be looking at your target area. So you want to switch this to manual. When we look down underneath the CDU, there's a couple of rotary knobs. This one is pointing to mission by default, and it says steer point underneath. So what that means is when I select waypoints manually, I will pick up every waypoint in here. So if we look here now, you'll see as I select, right, what am I doing? Oh yeah, if I select here, right, as I select a waypoint in my TAD, you'll see my steer point jumps to number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and then it goes somewhere else to number 9. Then it goes to number 51. Then it goes to 52, 53, 54. And if you don't have your waypoint selected, you'll find it's quite easy to select the wrong waypoints. What these points are air bases on this map. The A10 always has all the air bases in the area of operation selected or built into the CDU by default. And the reason for that is if you are shot up and you need to land, it'll tell you where the nearest airport is and it will guide you to it, okay? But we don't want that on our flight plan. So what we need to do is rotate this knob such that it filters out everything except the selected flight plan, which is the one with the asterisk by it. If we turn it to mark, it will show us all the mark points. We haven't created any yet. A mark point is a temporary point that you create in flight. If we select it to flight plan, it now says, right, you've got the only points you can see are your flight plan. And if we look at the flight plan now, we've got lines connecting them all up. If we start cycling through the flight plan, you'll see it just cycles up to 9 and then all the way around again. There's also a 0, okay? And the 0, if I move the little cross, is where the aircraft was aligned. Now bear in mind I'm in a hangar. Now it's not a good idea to use 0 as a waypoint for you to get back and land at that point because it's in a hangar, which is a bit impossible. However, it's a good one to get you back to the airbase if needed, but don't use it as a waypoint to land. If we look here, you'll see there's a dartboard, what we call a bullseye. And a bullseye is a virtual reference point. Whatever side you're on, you will have a virtual reference point assigned, which is here. And when you get what are the guys who fly around in the planes giving you targets, your AWACS and stuff like that, they will refer to the bullseye. So if they said 220 for 5, armour at 220 for 5, that means it's 220 degrees, which is this direction, for 5 mile. And knowing that, you know where the target is. There's also something you can do within the CDU that I won't be covering today. In fact, I've probably only ever covered it once, and it's called offsetting. So what that will do is allow you to go to the CDU. If the AWACS tells you 220 for 5, you'll put in 220005, hit the button, and you'll call it something, and up pops a little target there with reference to this bullseye. You can have lots of things as your reference point, but for your team or your side, you will usually use the bullseye. Right, has anyone got any questions? That's quite a lot to take in. I don't expect anyone to take it in. If I was giving you one-to-one training, I would explain it like this, and then I'd go through the controls, and I would say, don't try and write anything down. Don't try and remember it. Just follow what I'm doing. And if you follow what I'm doing for 3 or 4 times, you'll slowly find you actually start remembering things. And the biggest things to remember is where things are and the things that you need. Okay? I'm not going to go over the things that you need to set up initially, but you don't need every single switch set up from the first time you jump in an A10. Right, one thing I'm going to do is switch this. It's already on pneumatics. Switch it to electrics if it'll let me, but it's not. I'm not sure why. Okay, we've got on electronic countermeasures. We haven't switched them on yet, so I'm going to switch them on now. If you look over here, we switch this to standby initially and pop each little switch forward. So there's jammers, there's a radar warning, etc, etc. As you look here, there's also a manual switch, which we'll do when we get into an area of operation, a semi-automatic and an automatic. You don't want to be using automatic and semi-automatic. The one reason is it will start shitting flares and chaff at the slightest thing in a panic, right? The other thing, it also selects what type of SAMs and things that you're pointing at that are your biggest threat. The problem is sometimes it depends on how many SAMs and where they are. It will select based on the biggest threat, but you might have something closer that is less of a threat in terms of what it is, and it will select the wrong thing and therefore do the wrong countermeasures for it. It's far easier once you're going to leave it on manual and rely on the countermeasures it does by default, which I'll tell you what those are anyway. Right, before I take off, I have to take my chocks off. There never used to be chocks on an A10, so we need to, who do we need to communicate to? The ground crew, wheel chocks, and
Chief, remove the wheel chocks. Copy. Wheel chocks are now removed.
Okay, before we move, we should be asking the, well, I keep going in the wrong place, asking ATC for permission to taxi, because we don't know which runway we're going to be taking off from. ATC control the airbase, so if you're flying with 3 mates, one of you does this and then you give the other people permission.
Krasnodar, Hog 4, request taxi to runway. Hog 4, Krasnodar, clear to taxi to runway 27.
Okay, 27. Now, a good idea, if you don't know the airbase, is to go down here to your course correction and turn your course setting to 270. Right? The reason why it's a good idea is this tells me which direction I'm going to be taking off. So it's not going to take much working out of where I've got to go to get onto the runway. When you go to take off, what you need to do is, first of all, when you go to move, press your nose wheel steering button on, and you need this light on. Now you'll find that your rudder works, look, okay? If you don't do that, then you're going to pull away and you're going to end up losing your plane before you go. The A10CII is only just small enough to fit in. These hangars were designed for it, okay? It was the first plane in this game, and you can see it's pretty damn tight. So you better know that you're going to be able to steer. More so when you come out of these hangars, and the fact that's open, I'm guessing there's a pup in there, I'm not sure. So when you move, you want to start pushing both throttles forward up to a point where you start moving, and then ease them off a little bit, right? You will only just miss, as I said, the edges of this. If you're slightly off centre, you are going to catch the edge there. If you're coming from one of these side hangers, it's even more important. First of all, as we go past this plane here, if you look at this wheel at the front, can you see it's off centre? And that means that you'll turn faster one way than the other. Just bear that in mind. So I'm assuming that's pup. If he came out of there and turned too early, which I've seen a lot of people do in a rush, he'll catch his wing on the edge. So you always want to make sure that when you pull out and you move to just over halfway of the width of this line before you start turning. And always check the shoulder with the nearest wing to the hanger on whichever direction you're turning. Okay. There's something else I haven't done, and now I know he's flying with me. I take it that is you, pup, in the A10 next to me. Right, okay. So because I've got someone else flying with me, I'm going to set my net group and ID. So when I click on that, it says own ID is 01, group ID is 60. So if I'm a flight lead, my own ID becomes 01, my group ID becomes my number. My number is 33. Notice I set it up here, and then I click the button. When I click the button, you'll see anyone else in my group, and you can just about see blue underneath, will go a purpley blue colour. And that means we've got an early version of data link called Saddle, and it means the A10s can communicate with each other. We can send each other text messages, we can send each other targets, we can give each other directions, etc., and send each other ridiculous TikTok videos and things, no doubt. 3301 taxi in runway 27 Krasnodar Central. So if we look at the arrow here now, you can see we go forward and then we're going to take off to the left. Now that I know that Pup's behind me, then I'll change just a few little steps on my protocol, alright? So we'll take off on the same runway, and the positioning on the runway will be different as well. Has anyone got any questions so far? It's very quiet today. You're either all going to sleep, you're all bots, or you're all playing games and just listening in on the side, which is absolutely fine. Okay, 3301 holding short runway 27 Krasnodar. Right, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to put on my seat, because now it makes sense. I'm going to come back here and I'm going to change my lights. You're alright, matey. So at the moment, I forgot to put them back on again when I was explaining it, but you can see they're flashing. So when we come into a dangerous area, we're now going to change them, and we're going to make the lights steady. So we click this position flash back to steady, and we're going to put on our anti-collision lights, because we're now in a dangerous area. Okay, so when we look now, we've got these lights which you can actually see from some distance just flashing. Now at one point they were that bright you could see them from the other side of the map, but I've turned them all down and made them less now, and it's a little bit more difficult to see. Right, let me cough. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is go onto the runway, and I'll make another call. 3301 taking active 27 Krasnodar Central. Okay, so we're going to go forward a little bit, and then I'm going to do a hard left. And the reason for this is there's more than one plane taking off together. So I'm going to take a position on the left hand side in the centre as best as I can. Right, QFE 2982. If we look at our altimeter, you'll see we are currently just over 100 feet. The setting here is 2992. Okay, if I alter that to 2982, you can see the needle dropping down. And what this has done has given me the ground level of where I am above sea level, which is just a small amount, okay, for this airbase. Whatever base you take off at, you will have a different QFE. And it depends on air pressure, I believe. So if it's hot and sunny or cold and wintry, you'll find that that value will be different depending on that weather when you come into land and take off. It's quite important for coming into land, and you should always radio in and get the QFE for where you're coming into. That way, when you can see your altitude is coming down, right, you'll find that you'll touch the floor as expected. If ever you watched one of the Die Hard films, one of the things they did was change the relative height at the airport, so that when planes come in, they would think they're still 100 or 500 feet in the air and hit the deck right hard and blow up. So that you don't want to be doing that. So you always want to make sure that it's set to the airport you're going to land or take off on. Once you're up in the air, you change it to 2992. That is an internationally recognised number. Once you're in the air, if you are flying, say there's a plane coming from a different airbase, if we're flying on our local QFE, it means that we're going to be at different heights for the same reading. If we all use the same point of reference, which is 2992, then it means everybody will say, I'm at 2,000 metres or 2,000 feet. It means the other people, if they're at the same number, will be at the same height. Hopefully that's clear. Okay, so if I look round now, Pup should be on my right. Also, sorry Pup, you'll get flying eventually. He should be lined up, so when he looks out of his left window over his shoulder, he can only see one tail. So if I move that way or that, look at the trailing edge on the tail, right? You adjust it so that it's one, and that's what he's done. Okay? Right, start up. What we're going to do is put the brakes on. Going to push the engines up, and I'll do call-outs for him. Okay, we'll run our engines up to 80, and then I'll start, followed by you. Give me 2 seconds, climb 5 degrees up to probably about 2,000 feet. Copy. Excuse me. Sorry about that. Okay, so what we do is you put your brakes on, running up engines up to 80%. Check down here, make sure there's no warnings. 1 in the green. Okay, full throttles, brakes, 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 1 rolling. Okay, as we go along, if we look on the left hand side, you see the number 50. When it gets to 70, I'm going to switch nose wheel steering off, which I just have done, otherwise I'm going to be all over the place and it's windy. When it gets to about 130, I'm going to start pulling back on the stick, and you'll find it'll start to take off probably about 150-ish, alright? You don't want to be too steep, because otherwise we're going to hit the tail. Whoa, it's windy. Right, moving up to 5 degrees. I need to get my undercarriage up, hear it beeping. Get to about 5 degrees, and I have the luxury of being able to put my autopilot on. Okay, let's just trim that down a little bit there. Right. He's not got that luxury. Now, if you look in the hood, can you see where the hood is? That tells me how much wind there is, i.e. a lot, and it's blowing from the left. And he should be on my left, on my right somewhere. Can't see him. You still with me, Pup? Okay, I'm going to start slowing down a little bit, and I'm also going to hang a right turn. Can you chain left, please? So what I'm doing now is I'm going to turn. He's not on my wing. I will be crossing him. Right? And I'm not turning too much. If he was in formation, right, and that's no knocking Pup. Let's get back to that height. Then I wouldn't turn more than 20 degrees. If you look at my artificial horizon, see the little markers there on the bottom? That's 10, 20 degrees, okay? So in formation, you only turn at about 20 degrees, otherwise you are gonna go around too quick and no one will keep up with you. Remember, they're on the outside of a circle as well, so you need to slow down a little bit. I'm just going to keep turning round, and then we're going to start a climb. I'll start the mission and I'll get back into autopilot and explain what's going to happen next. I haven't flown the A10 like this for a long time, and one of the reasons for doing it is not so much for the benefit of the stream, it's so I can remember and see what I've forgotten. And there's little bits, not quite as smooth as normal, but it's doable. If I was trying to teach you how to fly, this will be more than good enough. You see, it is quite a slow big turn as we come round. Let's change my waypoint to waypoint 1. And you'll see in the hood a little square on the top right pushed over, and what that's telling me is that my waypoint is 50 mile away. Is it 37 degrees, or is it 50 degrees and 36 mile? Yeah, 36 mile and 50 degrees. So as I keep turning round, that number on the top will reduce. And then as it comes into play, you'll see where my speed is, and we'll talk about the speed in a minute. On the turn, I'm going to keep on climbing, probably level out at about 10,000 or just under cloud level, whatever the cloud's set up. See, down to 10 degrees, there it is, there's my speed. I'm going to roll out. Okay, rolling out. I'm going to wait for you. I'm going to actually level out first, and I'll wait for you to get in formation. I'll slow down too. Right, okay. So there's a few things now. Let's get this steady first. There we go. These are really nice airplanes. Like the Q, this is one of my favourite planes. It's slow. It's got a lot of armaments. It's really difficult, and you can make it do things it shouldn't, like use it for seed, because it's much more complicated than firing something miles away. You have to get up close and personal. If we have a look over here, you see on your speed a yellow line. The yellow line represents the minimum speed for your altitude. You don't want to be going less than that. Okay, it will go over 400, but it's not necessary. Okay, you get the gist. So while we're going over there, we're heading towards the SPI. Now what I'm going to do is switch on the targeting pod. It takes a short while to warm up. And the SPI, which is the indicator over there, is known as the sensor point of interest. So I said earlier on that we have a lot of sensors. The hood is a sensor, the TAD is a sensor, TGP is a sensor, Maverick's a sensor, etc. So we call them sensors, and we have already done the term sensor of interest. So the SPI is the sensor point of interest, and it is a point in 3D space that we can tell our sensors to go and look at. And you'll see that in a minute when the TGP warms up. So if we look on the map, you see this hasn't timed out yet. If we look on the map, we can see our SPI. We can see Pup here. He's blue, bluey purple. This is our flight plan. We're going to waypoint 1. This wedding cake is our SPI. And if you notice, it's completely tied into the waypoint 1. Right? If I switch to waypoint 2, the SPI moves with it, which is absolutely great for an initial sort of idea of where we want to look. If we think there's targets around waypoint 1, right, excuse me, telling my TGP or targeting pod to go and look at waypoint 1 seems logical, because I don't know exactly where the targets are. We're going to go and look for them, okay? Once we find them, we'll change where the SPI lives. And getting a grasp of how the SPI works in the A10C is quite critical, because at times you'll forget, and then you'll be trying to follow the SPI and it's not going to be where you think it is. When the TGP warms up, you'll see it goes into standby mode. If we then select AG for air to ground, we can now see what the TGP can see. If you notice, it says not soy, not the sensor of interest. If you look on the top right here, north is to our left. Okay, therefore south is to our right, east is over diagonally right, and west is somewhere behind us. This little dot represents where the SPI is looking relative to the aircraft. So if we imagine we're looking top down at this, this is at the front, okay? This here...
Approaching the easy zone. Turn back unless you want to activate
Oh,
this zone.
I forgot to start the mission. Other... You see that? I forgot to start the mission.
Attention all aircraft. There are reports of an enemy convoy exiting
Ah, it's all right to start
located
it.
on the northeast coast of the lake. They are headed
Right, okay, so
to their outpost on the northern.
this tells me where it's looking. This here
Take out the convoy first.
tells me how big this line is. Okay? And the reason it tells me, if I see something down here, I can approximate or tell somebody how far away something else is. If I'm going after this and say there's something 381 metres to the right of the end of these trees, for instance, then they have an idea of where it is. That's what that line represents. And that will change. If I make this soy, I can zoom in and out. And now those lines represent different distances depending on how zoomed in I am, okay? This is telling me it's 17.7 miles to the SPI, which is there. If we look on this map, sorry, yeah, to where the camera's looking. If
Warning, autopilot.
Did you just crash into me? I haven't seen that for a long time. What happened?
Pull up, pull up.
All of a sudden you're up my arse. Never mind. That's alright. Okay. So that was 1-0 to Pup. Right, okay. So we've got the mission started, which is fine. So what I'm going to do is I'll start it up again. I'm not going to talk through it, you'll be pleased to know. But you'll see the difference. Now the first thing I've got to be aware of is I've got a load of switches in different positions. I need to make sure these are synced up. Okay? And then I'm ready to go. So, I'm not going to explain everything. I'll just say where to look. Okay, so if you look over to the right knee, we switch on the battery power and the inverter, and we're going to put the APU start on. Keep an eye on the APU start. There's the exhaust gas temperature racing up. Here's the APU. Wait for it to become 100. Hear the high-pitched hiss, and we'll put on the APU generator. Go down and we'll switch on the lights. Make sure the lights are switched on, and that alerts everybody to starting it up. They should be, because my switch is back. They would be. There you go. Okay. And then what I'm going to do now is press these on, Eggy and the CDU. I haven't started up, remember. Put my displays on. Put these on. Now, I don't always have to switch that on. Right, so that time I've bypassed it. Put my radios on. Change my radio when it comes on to 122. Ask ATC for permission to start up.
Krasnodar, Hog 4, request startup.
Remember when I said to you, I'm sure it was 122, wasn't it? Yeah, 122. Funny, isn't it? That's because we blew the planes up. Let me try something.
Krasnodar, Hog 4, request startup.
It's a bit odd, isn't it?
Krasnodar, Hog 5, request startup.
It's not working for me either. Oh, hang on. No, it'll work, I think, maybe.
Krasnodar, Hog 4, request startup. Cleared for startup.
There you go.
09 at 9 meters per second.
Just 1 minute. I just turned this knob to intercom, and now it's gone back to VHF.
Krasnodar, Hog 4.
I've never seen that before.
Runway.
Have you? No, I didn't think so. Okay. Right, so simply now, start the left engine up. We've got all those things set up. We've got rid of a lot of lights.
Daddy is gamer said. I think
Hey.
it's because it's set to easy radio in the settings.
It might be, yeah, that's a bit odd. It's not normally set to easy radio. It's normally on manual, but I've never seen it switch it back.
Hog 5, request startup.
But then again, we've had a few updates since as well. Usually it leaves it where it is, and then you find you can't talk to people, but we'll see. Okay, you can see that we've got the warning now, so we'll stop that. And again, for the same reason as before, APU generator. Now, if we go over here, and this is the thing I didn't do before. Typically, you'd hit load all, okay? While this thing's starting up. The little green light has gone out there. We can start the right-hand engine. Might be an idea to stick a cup of tea on as well, I think. Right, I'm going to go and put a kettle on while I've got a chance. But it won't take so long. You see my joystick get knocked when I get out my seat. I have to be careful of that, otherwise I end up crashing. Make a quick cup of tea. kettle's on. Let's move this a little bit.
Moments one set and this training mission be available on the YouTube channel.
Yeah, it should be. This is a little bit bitty. Obviously, we've crashed a little bit. If you want to learn the A10, just give me a shout. I'm quite happy to go through it with you. And it'll take a long time, but I'm quite happy to go through stuff with you. The reason why I'm doing it today is after being ill, it's just a case of me catching up on myself to see what I can remember, because believe me, stuff just like this, it just dropped out my head. I had a high temperature and it really screwed me over for about 4 or 5 weeks. So that's why I'm doing it, okay? If you notice, these little dots are back now, so we should have a TAD. If we go over here, we can see the CDU. CDU alignment is already finished. That's because at the time we did it. So we go nav, move this over. If you look at the on mine, it depends on whether it's doing it on live and what channel are you looking at. If you look at MELL DCS, that's all of my live streaming stuff is on there. I haven't even got round to doing the videos yet. So if you excuse me, if you look on there, you should see all the live videos, and they're always kept. So sometimes, you know, this is more standard sort of training that I would be doing, and other times it's just me streaming. Need to move the seat to about here, okay. And if we look, let's have I shut the door yet? The canopy even.
Pontiac 1, request startup. Pontiac 1, cross radar.
Okay, so if we look,
209.
we've got this over there, which is the anti-skid. Seat not arm, not going to do APU gen and the APU. So that's not really a long time, is it? Now if we look at the dismiss this time, right, you'll see it's clean, no errors, no issues, no nothing. So what I'm going to do is install the weapons, load a weapon loadout, go back to the one that I saved earlier, MAV65D, say OK, make sure we get a copy.
Request rearming. Copy.
Okay. And then I'll let it load. I'll go and finish my cup of tea. Yeah, Mordant, if you want me to go through from scratch, I am happy to spend some time with you and do it. And I'll stream it though. So just bear with my 2 ticks.
Rearming complete.
Got my cup of tea. I've got one parcel coming today, so I will get interrupted at some point. I may end up with quite a few telephone calls, but they'll have to wait. Okay, where are we? So now you can see that message that I was referring to before, DSMS Invent and CMBT. And if we look at the bottom, there's it saying note. Whenever it flashes note, what it means is look down at your screen. Your screen will tell you what that is, and I can never remember. It looks like it's dismiss inventory something something, probably combat. But if you click, you'll see it doesn't know what the loadout is. So again, we acknowledge the issue, hold on to the MAV button, put the load button back on here, hit the load button, hit dismiss. 4 seconds later, we'll see that we've got the inventory up to date. Okay, you'll always see that when you come in and rearm reload. And I've seen people stop the plane, switch the engines off, open the doors to get this sorted. That's all you need to do. Hold the button again, change that back to MAV because we will be needing the MAVs, and there we go. Right, I've explained everything on the hood earlier on. I'm not going to do it again. We've now got weapons on. I'm going to put this to standby, switch all the countermeasure systems on, leave the seat not armed. I need to uncage the standby attitude indicator. I also need to go to net and change this to 3.3. Okay. I also need... I haven't put it on yet, that's all. I've got a TGP on, I just haven't put it on. So I need to go into the flight plan, which is FPM, and just click that from auto to man. Pop this over to the left, turn this one up to steer. Now this basically determines, this is something I forgot when I went through, this determines what's displayed on the CDU screen. So if we look at the options, we've got waypoint, steer point, position and other. So this will change when I go to waypoint. It will change when I go to steer and when I go to position. So it's my current position. This is the position I'm aiming for steer point wise, and this is the waypoint I'm heading for. Alright. If it's on other, these buttons become available for you to change features. If it's not in other, when I press this, nothing happens. Okay, let's just bear that in mind. Right, okay, so more or less ready. Let's go to CDU for now. 3301, good jet ready. Let's turn my chocks off. Yeah, copy that. Let's go back to go to ground crew.
Chief, remove the wheel chocks. Copy. Wheel chocks are now removed.
Right, chocks are removed. And as we start to taxi, even though we haven't asked for positioning or airbase, it won't tell us the position. It'll just tell us that we can't take off or we can't enter the thing, but we'll ignore it for now. Okay, one starting to roll. Now there's something else I haven't switched on.
Clear to taxi to runway 27.
There you go, see. There's Pup. Can you give me a 30 minutes head start?
Yeah.
No, you're right. So for those people who have just turned up, this is the second attempt because I had a unexpected aerial disassembly. Okay, 3301 heading to runway 27, Krasnodar Central. Yeah, I was just going to the TGP while I was flying, Dad. So I've literally gone through from the bottom, just adding things in as we start to need them. So we was focusing on starting up and getting the plane ready and taking off. And then I was just sitting there, but Pup's rusty. Is it rustiness, Pup, or have you got a new graphics card yet?
No, I'm rusty.
You got a new computer yet?
No.
So we can't even blame the fact it's smoother and slicker, can we?
No.
Nah, that's fine, matey, no worries. It's not the first time and it's not the last, and that's just with you. Okay. 3301 holding short, runway 27 Krasnodar Central. This is where we change our lights, put our ejection system on now, right, the hangar. If you look, you see a figure of 5 like on a dice, and the switch we're after is just above the top left of that figure of 5. We're going to switch this down to steady and switch this one up. Okay, and then I'm going to call accessing the runway 3301, taking active 27 Krasnodar Central, making sure nobody's coming. The reason why we're giving these calls out is if someone's coming into land, they'll know, they'll hear us if they're on the right frequency, and then basically they will call out, which they should have done anyway. Okay, we've got a QFE again, 2982. Obviously the weather's not changed. So again, I explained all of this before, if you watched the video previous to the aerial disassembly. Right, if you look down here, by the way, this is where you've got your autopilot, and you've got 3 positions: path, altitude. Let me move this over.
Do you also deal with taxi and in light?
I forgot. I do apologise. Yes. Now, normally I put it on to taxi. I forgot to do that. I completely forgot to put them on. So yeah, normally when you're taxiing, you do want the light on, and that'll put a big bright white light out the front. And I forgot about it, and yeah, you would stick it off. I can't remember actually whether it goes off automatically. It pops, but I can't remember. It's because I just forget to use it, and it is a good point. I should have done. Right, so you've got, here we go, look. 3 positions. Altitude heading, that is the one that you normally associate with autopilot. You fly level, you fly at a direction, at a height, that's it. But you've got these other 2 which are really useful. Path allows you to climb or descend and set your autopilot. So you imagine you're sort of coming down and you're at 10 degrees. Your aircraft is going to get faster and faster, and you might find that before you know where you are, you're at 20 degrees and so on. But if you set it to path, I haven't even got my radio on at the moment. You on 124, Stu? Oh, Charlie. Oh, change your radio back up to 124. Put 124 radio check. I don't know whether I've even got my radio on here. Let's have a look. Just change this to VoIP. We used to use joystick button 6, I think it is. Let's check. Yep. 124, you copy. Can't see anything happening. Let's just check something else. Shifting. Yeah, it should be the same as usual. That's what I set mine to. Function, no. Alt. Do you remember what the button is for the little menu? I forget. That's one I have forgotten. Ah, 124 radio check. Yeah, copy that.
Tab.
Yeah, Control Alt and Tab. There you go. No, it's not. Yeah, 5x5.
Control Shift Tab. Sorry.
Yeah, 5x5 on the radio. Right, okay, so where was I? So basically then, it allows you path to descend or climb. So you can set a climb rate and set it and then drink your cup of tea. And it'll just keep on climbing until it's got to a height where it slows down that much that it can't maintain the climb. The other thing is the altitude one. When you're looking for targets, you can set altitude, put a bank on your aircraft, and it will maintain that bank and fly around in circles, which is typically how you would do it in the A10 when you're looking for things. 124, copy. Yeah, I can hear people, but I can't necessarily, I don't know if they're responding, if they can hear me.
Someone is behind us.
Oh, right, okay. Okay, may as well just go, matey. Run it up. 80%, okay. One in the green. I'll get back to that. You'll see and I'll... Okay, full throttle. Brakes, brakes, brakes. One rolling. What I'll do is I'll Oh! That was me with my... I'd already got them on. Sorry about that. I'd already got my things on. And now... That's better. And now I switched them the wrong way around, and you can see what happens, which is why you'd switch them off. Let's get going, and then I'll talk about the other bits as we go. So now I'm going to put my... you heard the click? Oh man. And I basically put my autopilot into climb, and now I'll hit the button, and it should, once it steadies itself in this wind, carry on climbing. Okay, so this is hands free and it's climbing, but you can see the wind. Let's have a look, see where pup is. Can't see him at the moment. He should be... Ah! You moved over to the left already.
Yeah.
And you're going quite high. That's not 5 degrees, is it? Right, so now I'm taking my autopilot off, and I'm going to turn... Okay, I'm banking right 20 degrees, right? Okay, but you're way off anyway, so it doesn't matter. I'm going to turn, and now I'm going to switch the switch, right, to altitude, and I can cheat by just clicking the button there, right? Allow for the wind, because it's going to tip me more than I want to go. And... put my nose down a little bit, the wind's getting behind me now and pushing me up, and in fact it's doing a lot more than that. I should be able to put it, but if the wind's too strong it might blow me out and not be able to handle it, so I'm trying to get that sorted as we go. It's not going to hold it. Can't see it coming on. I'll just get around by hand and then put it back into autopilot after. So where we were just getting to before we was rudely disassembled was talking about the 2GP. So I haven't switched it on yet. The mission's already going, okay, so one part of the mission we won't be able to do anything with, which is fine. Let's make sure that we're pointing at the waypoint we want. And then we'll get back to where we need to be. So again, you can see where the waypoint is. The speed, there's a pointer there on the velocity vector, and that's pointing to the direction. If we look down here, you'll see a little arrow at the bottom here, says 080. And what that's telling me, if I turn my aircraft to 80 degrees, then I'll be pointing at the waypoint as well. So you've got lots of different ways of being able to manage the aircraft and get to where you want. So again, see, it's on, was it on 81 degrees? 80 degrees? So if I just turn to 80 degrees, that's it. And so that means that the box on the top right is quite close now. And as soon as that becomes visible on the hood, you'll see that little box disappear. There it is, 10. And in a second, you'll see the little SPI appear on the right hand side. There it is. And the box disappears. Right, so leveling out, and I'll allow you to catch up, but try not to hit me. Okay, so now I've changed my autopilot again, and it engaged that time. We've got to keep an eye on the speed. I'm going to drop down to possibly 250, and I'm flying in a nice straight line, so I'm going to switch on my TGP. If I switch TGP onto the right MFCD, you can understand now it's all full of acronyms. If I switch my targeting pod onto this right hand screen, you'll see it's not timed out. So what it's doing is aligning itself with the systems on the aircraft, and then when that's ready, you'll see it'll go into standby. I think this is more or less where we were. Make sure I've got my weapons, which I have. And I've slowed down a little bit, but I can slow down more. Now that I'm not climbing, I can back off on the throttles. No need to go hell for leather. This thing will stay in the air for a long time. Right, so let me get my cup of tea. I'll just pause my head tracking. And that way around you can not see my head bobbing up and down. Has anyone got any questions before we move on? Let's go and find where the waypoint is on here. So we'll select and make this soy. We can see pup coming up behind us, look. Hopefully behind us and not into us. And we zoom out. This is where we're headed. Here's the speed. So that's 40 mile to there, that's 20 mile to there. That's going to be about 27 maybe. If we look in the hood, it's 24. Okay, I was a bit out. Now it might be that someone else blows all the targets up before we get to where we need to get. But either way, no worries. So I just got to the point of switching this over.
No, you're all good. I won't blow anything up.
No, you can, matey. Of AG, right? So air to ground. So if we look, this is not soy. I got as far as talking about the fact that this represents, right, where the targeting pod is looking. Now, if I press a button called the China hat, which is on the throttle, China hat long forward, or hold down the V key, which is the default, you'll see it's a command to say all sensors look at the speed. Bearing in mind the speed's the white wedding cake. So if you watch what happens, you'll see this cross. Let's move this over first of all. Where's the cross? There it is. You'll see this as a sensor, and this, right? And you'll see the camera move and the cross and everything all at the same time to the white wedding cake. So I'm going to press it now. So the view's changed. The cross has moved on to there. And if we look in here, right, everything's moved to the speed, which is quite useful. So now we can come over to here, look at the camera, right, and we can see that it's looking up in the air. And the reason it's looking up in the air is because when this mission was created, the SPI, right, is up in the air, which is great for a general guidance, but pretty useless for looking for targets. So we're going to start moving this down, and now we can see the floor. Okay, so while we're on here, we covered what these numbers are here. This is in area mode. Okay, there's point mode as well. That one there, sorry. Okay, and there's area mode. Area mode works great for most things. Point is really good for tracking moving vehicles, etc, etc. If we zoom in, okay, and we can start to look around. If you look on the top right, you can see it says CCD. That stands for Charge Coupled Device. That's a sensor that is the same as you get in a bog standard monochromy sort of camera. However, if you use something called the boat switch, I don't remember the default keys, you can change this from CCD to black hot, so if it's black it's hot, or move back white hot, and white hot means that whatever's moving is going to be glowing. So now if we have a look around, right, anything that's white is likely to stand out. Okay, so just by having a simple look around, it will help us. It might be that we need black hot. The other thing we can do is look around and go, right, okay, this isn't helping. I don't know where I'm looking anymore. I can see that this is looking in front of me. Okay, but I have no idea where I am. So I can push it back to where the speed is, bearing in mind it's up in the air. So let's try and find something I've got as a point of reference. Possibly the lake. So, look,
Our resistance fighters in the
can you see that?
area set up a smoke marker on the
Those are
vehicle
white.
in the convoy. They're activating the smoke marker
Okay.
now.
They're not the things we want, but they must be hot. Can you see they're white? This is to do an oil rig. Now they've also said there's a smoke marker. We're over the lake and there's a smoke marker, and somewhere down here there should be a smoke marker, and it is quite difficult to see. I just hope I'm high enough. Ah, there it is, look. Can you see it? Over to the left. So, I'm not going to break away. So I've got an idea of this target's over there. Now, there is something I haven't showed you yet at all, right? And I'm going to put that on after. Because we sort of fell apart, the actual targets are over here. This is a convoy that's caught up here. And this particular mission is absolutely brilliant for weapons practice. So I know where that target is. So if I could see it on here, we can set it. However, look where my camera is. It's over here. Look where the target is. So for me to see that, I would need, right, to roll or be going a different direction. Because with the A10CII, the targeting pod is on your side. It could be either side, but it's on the side, and it's not centered about the fuselage. Then you have to be mindful of where it is. When you're ready, Pup, just break away. And Stu, I don't know if you're in formation or not, but just break away, find the targets. Let me know what height you're running at. The clouds are a bit higher than I thought, not by much. They look about maybe 9,000 or 10,000 feet, not sure. So just be mindful, we need at least 500 feet separation. Right, okay. So that's going to be pretty useless. Now, that's by finding it that sensor. If I could see them in front of me, I could actually use this sensor. I can find them with that. Okay, this will ground stabilize and work. When it's a dot, you can use it to target something. If I move up, right, that's too far away. So this will ground stabilize, and then I can set my target with that. Alternatively, we can use the TAD, and this is the beauty of it, right? Now, as it happens, I know where the targets are. So if I click on here and make it soy, I can hit the wrong button like I just did, right? If I make it soy, I can zoom in and have a little look, right? But the trouble is, every time I'm trying to zoom in, hey James. Unfortunately, James, the SU-25 is a module that I've never used. I do apologise. There may be others on the channel, so please feel free if anybody else can answer that for him. If you can, please, if you've flown the SU-25, can you do that, if you don't mind? Now what I'm going to do, I'm sorry James, it's just something I don't know, matey. I really don't. Is change the mode of the TGP. No one else know the SU-25 out of all of you? No, I don't use it, I do apologise. What I'm going to do is change this mode by using 10,000 copy. By using the China hat forward short, and it's now gone to EXP. And EXP or expanded mode allows me to move the map so I can see anywhere with this. I'm not limited to where it's visible. So what I'm going to do, he says in a cheaty way, is I am going to mark on here, I can't remember if it's there or the one above, I'm going to make a speed, or better still, I'm going to make a mark point. Earlier on I said you've got waypoints, mark points, steer points. So I'm going to make a mark point with TMS right short. When you make a mark point, instead of having a number, you've now got a letter. However, the SPI isn't inside the mark point. If you remember at the beginning with a rotary knob down here, we've got it set to filter everything out except the flight plan. But now I've made a mark point, so we need to change it. Now, if I'm in an area of operation and I make a mark point and I'm going to be looking down here, what the hell's going on outside? I have no idea. So there's another way of doing it, and that is by going function like you would on a calculator or keyboard, and then number 8, which is the same as pressing mark, and you'll see this is now changed to mark. Not only has it changed to mark, it's now put the SPI right bang in the middle of it. The advantage of that now is I can say all my sensors look at that SPI, and now they all look at the SPI. Now this is completely black, okay, and that's because it's masked. So what I'm going to do now, having flown further away, is I'm going to do a left turn, right? I'm going to climb up first. Sorry pup, you on 10,000, yeah? Yeah, copy climbing. I'll loiter at 9.5. If you can focus on tanks, Stu, if you can do RT and buildings, that'll leave me something to demonstrate. I'm going to climb up to 9.5. So I'm doing 5 degrees. I've started, I push my throttles to full because I'm climbing. Also got to be mindful of the cloud. Now, which side of the aircraft is my TGP? I have shown you a couple of times. Anybody? I'm going to start leveling out now. I want to be on about 9.5. That's close enough. Anybody? I'll set it onto altitude mode, and I'm just going to put a little bit of a bank, press the button, just trim very slightly to make sure it can maintain, and this is telling me where my speed is, and my speed's behind you at the moment, as you can see, but you can also see it's moving around because I'm turning. Okay, my TGP is here. If we look outside the aircraft at the TGP, you'll see where it's looking, where you could do if it wasn't overcast. Okay, it's pointing over to the right. Now there's a couple of things. One, we're entering an area of operation, so we should not have our lights, so we need to do something called fencing in. Fence stands for fuel emitters and some other things. I always forget what they are. But fundamentally, we're going to switch on master on. It's not there, mate. We're going to put the laser on. Now the gun pack, before I do that, I'm just going to take it out of this auto pilot, because when I flick this up, the aircraft nose drops. Oh, when I flick it up, that is. Come on. There we go. See the nose drop. So I'm just correcting that using the trimmer. And then I'll put it back into the turn. Okay? The reason it does that is there's that much recoil off the cannon in this plane. Apart from just putting the engines out, which it can do, it also causes the nose to jump up. And when you're flying, even though you're not flying as fast as you are in some planes, that is pretty useless. Okay? So they put this gun pack in. So when you squeeze the trigger, right, the second stage is the gun, the first stage is the gun pack. It compensates for the recoil. So when you shoot at targets, your nose does not leap up into the air uncontrollably. So let's have a look now and see what we've got here. If you look, right, this is where the target is relative to the aircraft. Right, and I'm going to zoom out. And currently, as you can see, it's looking at whatever it is over to the right, which is the side of the missile. So if you get that, we can just wait until it turns round a bit. But if we change this roll rate and lift the right wing up a little bit, okay, and then engage it again, we're going to be doing a bigger circle, sorry, but a smaller turn. It is, right? Again, it's not one. It's not one I know, to be honest. I've got it, but I haven't used it yet, so I can't help you out on that. But it's a really nice plane. The easiest one, and the one that gives you the most bang for the buck, is the F-18. And the reason being is it's got very, very good, right, air to ground, very, very good air to air, and also the fact you can land on carriers and take off. So if you're buying another module and you're not sure what you want, the F-18 is always a good one to start with, to be fair. Yeah, the trial version. So you can go through all the... Do you know about the trial version, James? I think we've spoke about it before. No, try them first, matey. Try them. Right? So what I would suggest is just go and try them out. Yeah, trial the F-18 or the F-16 and see what you think. But definitely, you know, you've got ships, which is a whole new thing. So now we can see the targets. We're on white hot, which is what I forgot to set my thing to. You can see on CCD, that's not so easy to see if they're surrounded by trees. And here, black hot, that's not great. Thanks, Kev. Thank you, matey. My telescope came, by the way. Came yesterday. Obviously, the weather's a bit crap. There's one thing it's not doing that it's supposed to, but I haven't been able to do any alignment or anything, and that is you're supposed to be able to manually rotate the lens down and rotate it around. I can't do that. It feels like the gears are in all the time. It's had a firmware update and everything, and I'm not sure why yet, but until I've done a calibration outside, it's not worth giving them a shout, because that's one of the things I've read. But yeah, it's smaller than I thought it would be, but heavier. But it looks fine. I'll have to give you some data. I'll send you the fit saver at some point when I get out to it. Yeah. Rained and stormed. Okay, right. So now we've got some targets. Okay. So someone's going after tanks. Someone's going after the RT and the buildings. So that leaves me a few things as well. So we got various trucks. Now I'm going to move my SPI, and I'm going to use my targeting pod this time to do it. And what I'm going to do is put, right, because there's a few things that are going to take time. I'm going to try and put, and one day I'm going to get this. One day. I have adjusted this curve so many times. So what I'm going to try and do, he says, just as we get masked, because now it's the other side. So I haven't been paying attention. I'll just straighten this up for now, which is absolutely fine. And I'm going a little bit too slow. Remember what I said about that yellow line? I'm just under it, look. I'll put that on there. Speed my plane up a little bit. And I'm going to put a little marker. And I'm pointing just at the floor by this truck. I'm going to pull it up just a little bit. Now ideally, if I point at the truck, that's not going to be as good. And I'll show you why in a minute. This is getting silly, isn't it? There, that's a good one. So I'm going to press the TMS forward and hold it, and then that's moved my SPI. There's no acknowledgement that that's happened, but if we look on the map, we see now that the SPI has moved, and you can see that the camera's looking at it. So what I'm going to do is make this another mark point, and that way round, right, if I accidentally do if I accidentally move it by having a mark point there, I can actually change to that mark point and it will go back to where I want. Now at the moment it's telling me that my target is over here somewhere. Okay, it's off my left wing, it's somewhere over here. I suspect it's down here. However, one of the things they introduced was a helmet mounting queuing sight, and this helmet mounted sight is absolutely brilliant for having very good situational awareness. So if we look down here, there's a tiny little switch. Okay, we're going to switch it forward, and when I switch it forward, you may see part of a screen appear on here. It's very subtle. Yeah, I can't see, it's too bright. Okay, so that's forward. Now when we turn our head, look what happens. Okay, and this is a helmet mounted queuing sight, and what that's doing is telling me if I look to the left, it'll switch off and then it switches back on again. It points to where my target is. My target's way over here, and that correlates with where my TGP is looking. My TGP is over here, and you can see it's looking into the side of the missiles, so that's no bloody good, is it? So I need ideally to turn and put the target on my right hand side. As you notice, because I've banked, right, you'll see the targets on the TGP. So as I come round, you'll see that dot moving around the outside edge. Can you see it just going to where not soy is? I'll just keep going round. You see all the indicators in the hood following it round. Now you can't always just fly willy-nilly in circles around targets, because sometimes they'll shoot you down. However, in this case, this is a training range. This particular mission isn't really going to do much. If you get low down, it will shoot you. There's also a moving convoy. Well, yeah, there's a convoy that arrived here that if we hadn't been crashing together in the air, then that would have been fine. Now we're here. It's still dark, right, because I've got quite a bit of roll. So again, if I flatten this out just a little bit, you should find you start getting some level of visibility. Okay, let's put that on instead. There we go. So now we've got it over by our right wing. And if the turn rate is such that we can keep that over there, then that's going to be pretty damn good. Now these vehicles are not moving, but can you see where this crosses? I put the speed down somewhere over here. Now as we go round, ideally this will not move. When you point the TGP at a target, imagine your target is a 3D model, which it is really, right? Imagine a line going down through the centre and then two lines on the floor that mark the horizontal axis and the y-axis. If you want to do a perfect placement, right, of a speed, you want to put it where they all meet. That is down on the floor where those crosses meet. So you should be able to estimate it, right? So it's down here somewhere. And by doing that, it doesn't matter which angle I come in at. This is always pointing at that target. If this was a tall target like the tower, and from this angle I put that cross up here at the top of it, right? What that would mean is that as I started to navigate around the target area, this would be pointing off in a slightly different place. So it's always advisable to try, if you're unsure, aim for about the bottom where the wheels touch the road and then in a bit. Depends how much control you've got over this. Now one of the things I can do is I can actually change the level of control on that thing. So if I go control, right, was it control? Oh, is it stat? It's stat, sorry. I'll go stat and next, right? Here's the TGP. If I use this and scroll down to throttle, see this slew? If I change that to number 7, then it means when I move it, it's going to be much better. I'll show you what I mean. So when I move this, watch. Can you see how smooth it is now? Can you see how slow it is? That's going to give me a lot finer control and allow me to be able to pick up the targets better. So depending how you're using it, right, slowing it down a little bit, especially when you're flying around in a plane, is going to give you a lot finer control. Now the reason why I made it a mark point is, look, now I'm looking somewhere completely different and I've lost the target that I was going to. But again, holding V down or putting China hat forward long, he says should go to the target, but it hasn't. Does anyone know why? Without answering Kev. If you remember at the beginning, one of the things I said is that the SPI, right, is locked to the steer point, but now it's not. Okay. The other thing is, I thought I'd actually set it. Let's see what that's telling me. Yeah, I have. The other thing is that whenever you move the SPI, which is exactly what I did, I put it on that truck, right? Can you see nothing's happening? It's looking, or it should be looking where it was. This, oh, there we go. So what I've done is move the SPI back, right, to lock it back to the waypoints. And now it switches with wherever the steer point is. And I made that truck that I first picked, I gave it a mark point once I'd set the SPI, and now we're back on that truck. It's a little bit off. If I put a SPI there, you'll see it's moved a smidgen, and you'll see it's only moved a little smidgen, and it's just outside the box. So you have to be mindful that when you move it, right, it's basically going to stay looking at that. until you move it elsewhere or lock it back onto the steer points. If that doesn't make too much sense to you, don't worry about it, because you'll find that, again, I'm just going through, adding little bits in, and I don't expect you to walk away thinking, right, now I can fly an A10. It's just little things. These are the steps that you sort of build up, but this sort of thing always catches people out. So now I've got my target, what am I going to do? Well, unfortunately, the weapons I've got take 3 minutes to warm up. If only there was some way of knowing how far away I was from the target, right? If you look up here, you can see the target is 2 minutes away at the moment, right? It's 12 miles away. So very often you can see targets from up to about 40 odd mile away. If you know it takes 3 minutes, right, for your weapons to warm up, the sensible thing is to get them warmed up before you get to target. So let's see how we do that. If we go to dismiss, first of all, we're going to select these weapons, and it says they are off. At the top of the screen, it says MSL for missile, and it says here EO off. So if we click that, it says EO on, and the timer pops up. And it's going to take 3 minutes for these missiles to be aligned, okay? And we can't fire them until they are. But when we go back to here, it says it's aligning. So that's 3 minutes. You do not want to be on your target, right, with your missiles warming up, trust me. It's fine when you got trucks, it's fine when you're practicing, but when you're going after something bigger that's going to shoot back, you really do not want to be over the target when you've got 3 minutes. So what we're going to do is we'll just circle around a little bit. We're at 9,500, the others are at different heights. And then we'll have a look about how to go about and firing your first sort of missile. So this is a sort of training I would normally do, as I said, if anybody wants any. Speaking of which, I've got to look for another job. So if anybody wants to hire me out, you're welcome. I won't be leaving yet. I haven't told them at work, but he's trying to insist I go in 4 days. I do 3 days of 13 hours at the moment, 2 days consecutive. And to be honest, it's too much. And it costs me 300 quid a month for the privilege of doing that, but he's starting to be arsey now after 6 months. I don't know why, but that's what happens when you deal with old people. I can't do 26 hours straight through like I used to. But hey. Can you see the way this is moved looks slightly? Because I was a little bit off on my original point. So what I'll do is I'll move this there and I'll put it there, and that should be much more accurate. That's as if, imagine a pointer coming from the TGP, like a long stick. The TGP can't see shit. TGP has no knowledge of any of this at all. Hey Jobber. Good afternoon, matey. So if you drew a line from the TGP, the only thing it knows is when it hits the floor. So everything to it is transparent. So if I aimed at the top of the tree, it would go through the tree till it hit the floor. So you can imagine why this would be inaccurate. So we've got another 30 seconds and then the Mavericks will pop up. I'm 5 miles away from the target. Hey Stixie. Not doing too bad on time at the moment. And all I'm showing you today is some of the basics to get an idea. Again, this is one of the, I think, one of the best modules along with the Huey, because it is, a lot of it is you to some extent. It's slow. Do you remember how long we've been flying now? If I push this fuel over to where it should be, we've still got 8,000 pounds of fuel left, which is great. Okay, so there's a Maverick. Okay, this is the Maverick screen looking from the Maverick. It's not pointing anywhere other than straight out. If we look at the Mavericks, unfortunately the contrast on this page is bad. You just have to keep using the trials, because when you get to the end of doing everything, that will take you about 6 months or more. You can do it all over again, so you get a year's worth of free flying. So the Mavericks, if you look, these are the things with the goldy caps on the front. Let me turn this volume down on my end. 1 second, because it means I have to talk over it otherwise. Oh, tell me about it. Right, so you can see you've got a Maverick, and then you've got this like Perspex cover over the front. That Perspex cover means that just inside there you've got a sensor, and that sensor revolves around, and that sensor is a visual sensor. Okay, and because you've got that sort of spherical thing on the front, what that means is it's got a limit to the left, the right, up and down. So if you're too close to a target and too high, it can't look down far enough. If you're too far off to the side, it can't see there. So ideally you want to try and align it so that it can see the target. And once we do what we need to do, you're going to get some cues in the hood to help us do that. Okay. The other thing, and this is something that's quite important, is it works on contrast. So it's looking at the contrast of the target you're aiming at. Okay? If you set your targets out a long way away, by the time they get close, you might find it's looking in a different position. And also, if you've got something which is the same colour as the area that it's in, it might not be able to pick it properly. And if you've got a lamppost and the sun is shining on the lamppost, and the lamppost is shinier or more contrasted than the target you want, there's a good chance you're going to be blowing that lamppost up, maybe multiple times. So let's have a look at that. So using the same control as we had before, we can force the Maverick to look at where our speed is. In the hood, we've got a circle. So once this became aligned, right, we suddenly got a circle, which is where the Maverick is looking. So I'm now going to tell it to go and look at this little truck over there. And immediately it runs off to the right. And there's a couple of things going to happen. Gimbal limits. This has hit the limits to what it can see. The targeting is now over here somewhere. And when it's off to the right flashing, it means you've got to turn right. Okay? So if we turn right, then this will line up with that truck down there. Okay? So I'll just turn the plane round first of all, and we'll see what happens. So I'm looking at that circle, and it's telling me still to turn right, and eventually it will be on the screen, more or less centered, sitting over the speed. This is why the speed is used and how it's used. It's telling my sensor, or all my sensors at the moment, to look at my target. We can see the target still on the camera. So as I'm turning around, it's still on that truck. Here it comes. In a minute it will stop, and it should be sitting on the speed. How far away are we from the target? 17 miles, that's good enough. We can see now, here, it's pointing at something, okay? So it's already within the range there, but you're going to get a much better shot when you're pointing towards it. Okay, there we go, everything's aligned. The problem is at the moment we're pointing down, which means that say we've got to shoot something but not something else. It's a little bit sort of, if I shot, the chances are it would possibly hit the truck in front. And the reason being is that, remember I said it's looking for contrast? If it feels that truck's a bit more contrasty. So what I'm going to do is put the target on my right wing. When you first start doing this, you'll find you become all fingers and thumbs. So it's always a good idea to give yourself some distance before you start trying to shoot shit. That's the technical word. So what I'm going to do is let this pass over there. There's the little town, right? And these are in a line down there. You can see my target clearly marked. You can see my mark points. I could pick targets with this as well, which is great. The dash line is showing me the horizon. Okay, sorry, the dash line showing me when it's above or below the horizon. There's the horizon line. So I'm just going to fly past, and when I fly back to the target, I'm going to be more or less perpendicular to the road. So the road should be running left to right instead of running forward and backwards. If I was dropping cluster bombs, I would want to be coming down the road, right, for the best chance of killing anything there. However, for this, you want to try and give yourself about 20 mile, and that will give you plenty of time. Remember, this is going to be your first time trying to blow something up, and you're looking at this, you're looking at that, you're trying to press this button, you're trying to remember this, and that first time, if you can get it right, then it means you can get it right every time. You won't do, you'll forget something, but it just means you're going to panic if you're not careful. So we're 13 mile away at the moment. Target, as we can see, is over there. So I'll do a right hand turn and then come through. And the process will be, we'll do a turn, we'll start heading into the target, okay? We can see that this is on the target, but that is not necessarily the target this will hit. As we start to come in, we need to make sure that this is soy. The missiles have a range, and the range starts at round about, I can't remember now, but we'll see a bracket appear on here, and we'll see a bracket appear in here too. And when it's within the limits of the bracket, you can fire, but you've got to lock the target first. And the way you lock the target is by using the TMS, or target management system, up short. So as you're coming in and you're within range, you gently press it up short and see if it locks. Press it up again, see if it locks. Now if you do this and you're a long way off, right, then the chances are it'll select the wrong target. So I'm going to turn now. I'm going to do a reasonably tight turn. It should, with a bit of luck, put me so that the road goes left to right instead of up and down. Should be able to use my head tracking as well, and my helmet mounted cueing sight. Give me an idea. There's the road. I want to turn too tight. We can see that the 2GP can see the target now. I'm going to come down just a little bit more before I turn in, just to make it easier to choose the target so you can see what happens. We are, you know, as I said, we're 19 mile away at the moment. Hey Jimbo. Oh right, yeah. Yep.
Excellent content. I used to play a very old game called A10CII and thought I'd try this as a first DCS play. Goodness me, it's complicated.
It is. This is the first time I've flown it in anger for a while. basically it's not conducive to some of the missions we've been doing. But yeah, more than welcome, matey. You have to thank Shifty, but I am quite happy to help you out as much as I can. What I've been doing at the moment is just going through the basics. I can help you out and do some one-to-one training. If you're available on Saturdays, you can do it during stream. I can give you maybe 2 hours during stream on a Saturday. The reason why it's only 2 hours is because you can walk away so easily with your head completely blown, and then what you need to do is go away and practice the bits that you've learned, if that makes sense. It's the last time I did a one-to-one, it was 60 hours spread over 6 months, and then you had to put some hours in as well. But it is quite a complex plane, and if you're not somebody who reads books, looking at the manual is like such a big turn off. But anyhow, welcome. First time chat. You'll have to say thanks to Shifty or I'll catch up with him.
Yeah, thanks.
But if you got any questions, ask. I don't know everything, don't get me wrong. I know my way around it enough and I can get the best out of it. I mean, some of the weapons on it nowadays that they added on, I don't see the point, and I don't particularly use them. I know how to, but... Okay. No, that's fine. That's absolutely fine. It does help, obviously. But I have tried some of the other sims, but you can't blow shit up. I like blowing shit up. I like something that's going to be shooting at me while I'm trying to blow shit up and then managing to do it and then get away, do you know what I mean? And the A10 is great for that. Not designed for it, but it's great when you can do it. But hopefully this is going to be a little bit more in line. Excuse me. Got plenty of time to think about what we're doing. Just for reference, if anybody wants this map, it's not mine, it's done by Apache 600. It's called Krasnodar Variable Ground Attack. You can select missions with the F10, and if you select mission 1, convoy, it makes it a lot easier because you're not going to get shot at too much, only if you're too low. So I'm going to make the TGP soy, sorry, the Maverick soy, and I'm going to zoom in 1 notch, and we can now see the target here that this is pointing at, and you can see how they're all shining nice and white. So excuse me, as we get closer, there's the bracket, but we're out of range. Okay, so this will have a marker coming down, and the marker comes down and tells us when we're in range. Now, even though the speed is set to there, I could have it set to here. And when I try and lock onto the target, the Maverick is going to suddenly jump up to that target. If you notice, the alignment here is right on the thing. There's the pointer, right? And it will do that because it sees the contrast in the target to the normal bit of ground. So all I've got to do now is just gently go TMS up short once it's within range, and then press the fire button. Okay, TMS up short, nothing. TMS up short, nothing. 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 Thanks, Kev.
www.digitalcombat-simulator.com/m/files/3-46863/.
Do you ever get the feeling you might be doing something wrong? Anyway, come on. They should pick it. And it's not picking anything at all, is it? Let me just try something. Yeah, I am, matey. Doing it lots. Come on. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. Unless someone shot it. Let's do a quick manual. I wonder if someone shot it or it's picked up splash. Oh, that's a bugger. So I have no idea why. I got no warnings, no nothing. And that was all set. Okay, fine. We'll just go back and find out what happened. Oh, look at the truck. Can you see the truck on my TGP? Someone's blown it up already. That's okay. Let's go and find something else. Same sort of affair. Can you see? I should have checked that, but never mind. Let's try and find a truck that isn't blown up. Let's zoom out just a little bit. There'll be something there. Is everything blown up? All right. Okay, no worries. So it's not gonna blow it up when it's not gonna launch because the target's dead. Okay, so whether that's a game thing, I guess it is. Let's turn around. Let's go and find another target. If you hear funny shouting and clapping outside, there's a cricket match going on and a cricket pitch not far away. Let's turn around quite tight and get this looking at targets again. And then we'll fly out just to give ourselves time. Right. Let's go and find a target again. Right. That one is better. Okay. So I'm changing that to there for now. I should take the little truck behind it because that's obviously more of a danger. So let's push the missile onto the target. It'll probably be on gimbal limits. Might just do it, I don't know. Yeah. So as I said before, gimbal limits. Let's look where it is on my head. Okay, it's behind me, that's fine. What range have we got? 7 mile. Okay, I won't go quite so far. So basically when we turn around, we'll see where the Maverick's pointing. We've just masked the camera because it's now pointing behind, and that means it's looking down its own tube. We look down there. We won't see anything just yet. Right, 10 miles away. I can do it in 10 miles, but I don't want to because, as I said, when you're first when you're first trying a missile, 10 miles, you're going to be firing pretty damn quick after that. Once you know your way around it, it's fine. But for the first few times, you know, something simple like that, something I didn't check, it's already dead. It's not going to let me fire the weapon at it. It's not going to lock on. So I'll just wait a little bit, extend, give me some room, and then do it again. And then you'll see, hopefully, unless someone's shot my targets, that it'll shoot. Fuel-wise, we've still got what? £6,000. There's also a method. Normally, if you were flying in a group, you would do something like a racetrack circuit. So you would sort of go in one at a time and then peel off to the left or the right, whichever your flight lead defines, and you'd go in a line, not one straight up the other one's ass, but you know. My time was up. Oh right. Yeah, sorry, now I see what you're saying. That was ages ago. Basically, you'd go in and peel off and you'd fire a missile. You'll find that firing one missile is easy enough to do. but you can fire all 6 missiles, but you have to set them up as you're coming in. And you can choose 6 different targets and then fire them all one after the other and then fly out, and then they'll start blowing all those targets up. It's a little bit more complex, and you've really got to get your head around how mark points work, how the spoof follows the mark points, and what keys you've got to set up to do it. And once you get the gist of that, you can literally just unload 6 targets fired at, usually 6 dead, and off you go. Right, you can overload the A10. You can put so many weapons on it, it doesn't mean you should. When you overload it, it is extremely heavy. It doesn't fly very nicely at all. There's the marker for the Maverick flashing, telling me I should be going to the right, because it's on the right hand side of the screen. As I look around, can you see the smoke billowing from where my camera's looking? As I said, by the time I get to shooting things, there won't be anything left. So once it gets around there, I'm going to have to find another target. So when you are practicing, you really want to do something like this by yourself, or set up your own little map. It's not a problem though. It just means this is a nice, safe way of doing it. So let's have a look. I think he's just smoking. He might blow up. Yeah. Someone's coming in with guns by the looks of it. But we'll choose this one here. Okay. I'll make that my speed. Okay. And make sure the Maverick selected, 16 mile away. This time keep an eye there and an eye there. I've got this selected. Missiles have now been on 25 minutes. You can see why you don't put them on at the beginning. Target is down here somewhere. Okay. Now what should happen is it will jump to this target. We'll see there's the bracket on screen. You won't see the bracket on here yet. Let's zoom in. Get a good view on the screen. We should start seeing the brackets. It already looks like it's locked, doesn't it? Judging by the way it's flashing. I think it's this one. No, it's this one or this one. What range have we got? 10 miles. There we go.
Yeah, that's what's well for you now.
Thanks, matey. Let me just move this over.
That's not in my network correctly working now.
Right. Make it soy. Unfortunately, there it is. Okay, so it's locked, and now we can fire it. Rifle. Okay. We can follow the missile down with F6 when I can get to. Oh, that is my fault because my joystick just hit my keyboard. Let's get my plane back into flying before the missile hits. That's one thing I forgot about when I changed my desk slightly. There we go. That should go there. Come on.
Warning,
It is.
autopilot.
There we go. When I pull that back, it hits my joystick when it's fully forward, and I can't see the keys. I can't get to my F keys, which is a pain in the ass. It's probably gone. Oh, there it is. Okay, so it did hit the one we aimed at. And it jumped to the biggest target by the looks of it, not quite the truck. As you saw me doing before, when there's a lot of targets, if this is selected, you can quickly give this a little bump and it might find its own target, although we're a bit close now. And it'll basically, you can just shoot another target off there. The alternative is, let's make this soy. Go back to TGP, make it soy. Right, so one of the things you can do, which is what I was talking about earlier, is you can sync up a number of targets, and let's have a look. I might be able to do it. I might be able to do it if I wasn't sort of flying out.
TMS down short ground stabilizes the move cursor.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, I was just letting it have a float at the moment, or I was there. I know what I want to do, but I'm not sure if I've got the key set up for it, but I can explain it. So I need to bring the camera around. So now we can see the area. It's possible to go around and select more than one target. As I said, I don't think I've got all my keys set up, so it probably won't work, but at least it gives you the idea. Let's zoom in a little bit. I think those buildings are gone. There's a few little things, there's not loads. Some of these things it's quite difficult to tell. See, that's dead, and it's quite difficult to tell that it's dead, to be honest. That looks to be alive. So if we look at the hood, and we can see I've got a mark point there. Z means the last place you shot. A and B, those are the only mark points. So if I select this and I make that C, right, and let's go and select something else. I think that might be, no, that's not alive. Let's move over so we can see it properly. Oh, for God's sake.
Warning, autopilot.
So I'm going to turn around. At the moment I'm flying straight, which means that my targets are going to disappear off. I need to get into a nice curve. Now ideally, if you were, again, like 20 mile away, you could set all these up really easy. And I'm just going to put it into a slight turn. Hey you mate. All good, thank you very much. A lot more so than I have been recently. The fact I'm remembering nearly all of this, say nearly all as a caveat, is a good thing. Are these all dead? Yeah. Everything's bloody dead. They're all dead, Dave. I might be able to show you one too. So I'm going to set this up there. Right? And I'll put a point there. And a point there. Okay? So if we change our speed to there, I lock it onto, tell the speed to go onto the mark point. Watch what happens when I change, right, the mark points. You see that goes, that should be locked. Let's put that on. Let's see if I can get stuff in front of me. So what's going to happen?
Fantastic mate. Glad to hear
Oh yeah, I'm a lot more with it. I'm surprised I remember as much stuff. There are little bits. But watch what happens to the Maverick when I switch through these waypoints, okay? Or these mark points I created. As I said, it's going to be difficult. So basically, that is on a target now, okay? So when I'm close enough, where is that target? Okay, I should be able to literally go and fire. Come on. Let's put that one. Now, as long as I don't move the speed. Is that off? Is it slightly? I think it might be. What will happen is as I switch through the steer points, watch. Oh, come on. He says, what should happen is as I change through these, why is that not going? There we go. Can you see the way that the Maverick is following the cursors? Now, I didn't necessarily have a target there at that angle. So if you set a button up to step through, I'm using the one on here. Okay? Can you see the way that you can basically select each target? I'm a little bit off on my setup. That's why you're not seeing targets. There's one, there's another, there's another. So in theory, if we go to here, right, you could make sure that's selected. Oh, make sure that's selected. Rifle. Right, get the next one. Okay. Rifle. Get the next one. Now I'm doing it a long way around here. Rifle. You get my gist? So you just need to select your targets first. Give yourself some room, especially if you're on this mission. You come in, you can select 6 targets. You create a mark point on the right point on each target, so it's not going to move around. Hang on 1 minute. Who's this calling? Lisa. It's alright, it's the other half. She always gives me a quick phone, she's at work. So basically, right, what will happen there is you can go through and select 6 targets. You need to assign a button now, so you're not letting go of your stick or throttle. And you need to select a button so that you can effectively switch your steer point. As long as you don't move your SPI, which is the little white wedding cake, then the targets will show under here and you'll move the Maverick, and just by going TMS up you can fire them. I can't show you that properly this week. What time is it? 12:58. I've got about another hour left. So as soon as I've finished chatting to her, which is always about 2 minutes, what I'm going to do now is show you how to go and land, and we'll assume that we don't know the airport we're landing at. Okay, so now's a good time to go. Have I finished my drink? Oh yeah. Now's a good time to go and make yourself a drink, and I'll show you how you can utilise the CDU database and go and land at any airbase and not even be interested in it until you're coming in. It will line you up with a runway. It should line you up with everything basically. One thing I forgot to do at the beginning and no one noticed is change this back to 2992. So I've been flying at the wrong height, only about 100 feet. But even so, if I think I'm 9,500 and the other guy's at 10,000, that can be a disaster. This is now coming down slightly, so let's change it. And then when she phones, if she pulls her finger out, I'll show you how to go and land. Has anyone got any questions? Just one moment.
Warning, autopilot.
Sorry about that. You can see I pulled my keyboard out and caught my joystick again. Right, so what we're going to do is go and land back at Krasnodar. Now, I said at the beginning, right, that all the air bases are in this database for the CDU. So what we're going to do, first of all, let's dump the weapons. How many have we got? We've got 2 of those left. Why is this pointing up all the time? I think I've caught a button or something when I was just switching apps. Let me just try and get this thing level a bit. I've caught something, I know I have, I can tell by the way the plane's handling. Right, okay, so let's dump the weapons first of all. It's always a good thing to get rid of. Let's make sure we're back in nav mode. So we're clicking the master operation. So we're back in nav mode. Now, what we're going to do is select CDU and go to a particular option. Now, rather than looking down there, what I'm going to do here is go function nav. Okay, and if I switch on the CDU mirror here, okay, we can see something called divert, and this is the feature that you would normally use, and what that will do is divert you to the nearest runway. If we click it, we'll get a list of runways. So we've got Krasnodar Peshwari, which is a really small runway, so we don't want that. We want Krasnodar Central, which hopefully is the second one down. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It might be this one. Yeah. Now this tells us that it's runway 9 and runway 27. Okay. So that would usually mean a 90 degree or a 270 degree. However, what you've got to be aware of is these, and look, it's doing it again. Why is it going down all the time? Probably because that's not on. Look, see, oh, what's happening? Can you see what's happened whenever I press that button? That's suddenly jumping up, and it shouldn't be. Every time I press my autopilot, it seems to be jumping up, and it didn't before. As I said, I think I've caught something. No more worries. Once I can get this bit done, it'll make sense. So what we need to do is have a little look, right, at what's going on and all the details about Krasnodar. So right shift and K will bring up all the commands, and using square brackets we can switch pages, and eventually you'll find a whole list of runway information. I'll keep an eye on that. So what we want is Krasnodar Central. There it is. Okay. So if you look, it says, can you see that the actual angle is 261 and 81? The runway is called 09 and 27, but it's really 261. So we're going to use that 261. Let's move this back down again. I'm having real problems with this at the moment. So what we're going to do is set our course heading here to 261. Okay. Now we know when we selected divert, it literally pointed to the airbase for us. So it's pointing to the airbase. Okay, we're going to come in on 270. And if we switch this back to 2GP, right, this is looking back at the target. So we need to select that and put it back to where this base is. It's already selected in the HUD, Krasnodar Central. Okay, runway 52. It's in the database. What have I got? There's something going on, I can tell by the feel of the plane. So what I'm going to do is put my SPI and align it back with the waypoints. So I'm going to go to the TAD first of all, make it soy. I'm going to switch from expanded mode using China at forward short. Okay, I'm going to zoom out, and that's where it's pointing, 52. Okay, so it looks like I corrected it while I was on the phone, and you use China hat aft long, and it should put it back in the right place. So what we're going to do is turn round, and we're also going to look at the artificial horizon that's in the middle. So the artificial horizon, now you can see the numbers turning round. That's the thing here. Sorry, the compass, not the artificial horizon. I'll get there. Let's try and get some semblance of control on this thing. Can you see I've got a number of things going on? And you can see there's an arrow now, right? A pointy arrow. And on the outside of the ring is a little fat arrow. And then there's also a line. And that line is offset from the centre. That's my course deviation line. So if I didn't know where Krasnodar is, and I'm not paying too much attention to it, what I've got to try and do is get all those lines lined up. I need the thin arrow with a tail in line with a line and the little fat arrow. Right, now there's the airbase, there's my runway, but what angle am I coming in at? If I align all of these, and I'm going to do that by heading towards the course deviation line, what's going to happen?
THC 42 said that DCS have waypoints and /stars or just rules and NDBs.
It's got a VORs, NDBs, it's got waypoints, it's got quite a lot. It uses GPS. So whilst it's old, it does use GPS. It has an enhanced GPS and inertial navigation system, which is what it uses for its navigation. But yeah, it has GPS access basically. Okay, so what we're doing now is going straight ahead, and as we go forward, right, you'll see this line down at the bottom. Let me look at it for you there. That line will get closer, and at the same time the gap between those two arrows, okay, will get closer. And when they put all together, if I make a right turn, even though I'm this far back, I know that I will be heading straight down the runway in a perfect sort of direction. Okay, now I also know that the runway is on 2982, so I'm going to make an adjustment as I go. Right, saves me calling in. That's 5. Okay. So what that's done is aligned it. Now obviously if the weather's changed or anything else, that might be different. I'll go in visual anyway, so I'm not too fussed. But if I called the runway, I wonder if it's set it for the runway. No, it hasn't. It's not that smart. So can you see how that line and those two arrows are getting closer? We're 20 miles away. I'm going to turn into it a little bit more. The more perpendicular you are to the line, the faster it will close up. So you've got to be really mindful of that. But just knowing this really helps when you're coming into landing. Getting an idea of some of the things I've gone through at the beginning, before the aerial disassembly, and also where I made a couple of mistakes, are still quite useful to know. And if you're starting, hey, was it Agilas? Thank you very much. Could somebody give him a shout, please? We're just coming into land. Someone can give him a shout out, please. That would be good. Thank you, Kev.
Walls and MDVs are available for navigation, but as it's military standard departures and arrivals aren't really used.
Thanks, Kev. See, Kev understands more. You can see that my camera is in the middle of the thingamajig. In the TGP. And you can see the lines getting closer and closer together now. However, we're only 12 miles away and we're quite high, relatively speaking. So I'm going to start descending as well. Throttle back, dropping my nose down. Again, not paying too much attention to the runway. But if we keep an eye on those gauges, you'll see. Wonder if I've got my wheels out of something. No. It's alright, I wondered if I'd caught a button. Thank you, Kev. Thank you very much for the ride. Now as we're getting close, I'm going to start turning. What was you up to in DCS today? Can you see how we're turning, look? Now, when we finish the turn, we should be heading towards the runway. Without worrying too much about looking at the runway, I'm just looking at the gauges. I'm going to start rolling out. There's the runway. And we've got a little spee right in the middle of it. What's our range? 11 mile, that's not too bad. Get down to about 1,500 feet. So I need to come down. 3301 coming into land, Krasnodar Central 27. I'm slowing down all the time. Keeping an eye on my height. Got my speed brakes at full.
THC 42 said 810 has ILS.
Yes. Yeah, it's got ILS. Not all the runways have ILS.
Said, F-16 flying today. Been trying some new functions that I haven't really tried before.
No, right, well, that's what you do, isn't it? It's no point learning stuff you already know. You just got to push and add a bit in each time. Now, there's a very strong wind, as you've just noticed. Can you see the way that the... Can you see the way that the... oh, something's not right somewhere. I'm a lot lower than that's telling me I am. There's something's wrong and I can't tell what at the moment. Start levelling out a little bit. But there's a strong left to right wind. So for me to come down the runway, I'll probably be crabbing at a funny angle. 5 miles away. Speeding up just a little bit. Wonder if I adjusted that from the wrong height. Yeah. just a little bit slow. You can see the runway is off there, the wind is going left to right, but it has lined me up with a runway. I'm not sure what happened. I think when I answered the phone, something basically happened and it changed something. So it wants me to be a little bit higher, but I'm just going to go with my gut on this. So I need to aim. I am aiming very left. Look. What's my speed? Who knows? Still a little bit high. We should be able to recover it though, to be honest. But it's just so windy. I have no idea what speed I'm doing. So that's set to 50. Push left just a little bit more. Pull the nose up. Brakes on full. Air brakes are still out. Brakes run full. There's a slow down. Nose wheel steering out on. A little bit quick. I don't think there is on the A10. There is on the F18 definitely. On the A10 there's not. Hey, Goddess and Nana. I just noticed you then. It's alright, I was in a little tricky bit there. For some reason I hadn't got... there's something I've switched or caught a button with something that screwed me up a little bit. But to be honest, for a first time back in the A10 for a while, and after my brain falling out during when I was a bit ill, I'm quite happy with that. I remembered lots of it. I think the only thing I didn't remember specifically was the TMS down on the ground stabilisation on the MAV. But a lot of the targets had already gone, but at least we're down. How are you, Goddess? What you been up to? And there you go. Normally I finish at 2. I think that as far as the A10 goes, it's such a heavy module. There's absolutely nothing I can do with it really in the next 45 minutes. Waking up? Have you... I'm all good, thank you. Have you got up at a really late time once again? You had a bit of a lie-in? Or did you go out partying last night? Oh, that's not so bad. 8 AM, so you've got to be... What are you? East Coast? Round about there, east or central. You're not west coast, are you?
Yes, east coast.
Right, okay. So I am doing a quick cheaty finish. Need to open the canopy, of course. You also have to press the silver button, which is just down. Where's the silver button gone? There. It's actually not silver, is it? It's red. Jeez. That pops your ladders out. Now, what errors have I got? Ah, EAC. So the EAC was switched off. That was what was throwing all the readings out. I should have looked down, shouldn't I? It's on my thingamajig, but I must have caught it in the plane by mistake, or when I went to change my thing, which would explain why the plane was going up. Ladders are out, bombs are off, some targets are blown up. Now that's when targets don't shoot back at you. When you've got stuff shooting back at you, you can't use the same technique. You have to choose your target, yes. But you can't fly up in the air like that. You've got to use... Hey, hello, Frenchie. How are you? It's the first time in the A10 for a long time. I was ill recently, Frenchie, and yeah, all good, thanks. The little one all right? Or is she not so little now? I had a bit of an issue where it was like someone switched my brain off and I couldn't remember things. So this really is a little bit of a how far can I remember? Do I remember everything? And it's more for me. I know, that's amazing, isn't it? The fact I can talk as quick as I used to is good, because before my head could not keep up with my talking, and I had to talk slower so that the words and the thoughts all matched, and it was well bizarre. Anyway, hopefully that was useful to somebody. If anyone's got any questions, because I will be popping off in a minute, just let me know. Would be nice if the guy actually got out the thingamajig. So I'm a little bit earlier finishing, which is fine. Alright, no worries. Well, as I said, feel free. You're more than welcome if I'm flying this. Just come in and ask. Or if I think there was yourself and someone else. If you're both interested, I'm sure I can give you a couple of hours on a Saturday. As I said, you don't want more than that because it just blows your mind. There's quite a lot more to go on this thing.
Debating on getting new headphones. I've been looking at the Dynamic DT 1990 Pro MK1.
God, man, throwing numbers at me. Whilst I am nerdy in some areas, I have no idea. I just go Zen Ice. I had Zen Ices from when I was about 17. And then they became my customer at one point. And they still make some pretty damn good headphones. I remember saving up 25 quid for some headphones that all my friends laughed at me because they were bright yellow little things with black open back. Some just headphones, Zen Ices. I don't use headphones that often. It's only because of the neighbour. I'm playing on my synth and stuff or doing music stuff. I'll put headphones on because the little one's in bed at 7:15. Anyway, that was short and sweet, Goddess. I do apologise. You've come on as I'm going off. And what I'll do is pass everybody over. You need to get up early. Come and jump in a helicopter or something. I know you're capable. I'll pass everybody over. I'll go and find somebody. Yeah, I suppose it is.
French data said, my salute to lady.
Yeah.
Catch you later,
I will say hello, Frenchie. All right, thanks for your help as always, Kev. And when I can get something going, I'll send you some. I'll send you a link with some details where you can download some fits and have a look, have a play. Anyway, let me go and find somebody to pass you all over to. Hopefully, as I said, it was useful.
Look forward to it.
Yeah, no, it'll be good, I think. We'll see. I'll do some and leave the AI on default, but then switch it off as well and see what comes of it. But I've got to try something soon just to see if I can get rid of the problem I've got. Jock's on. I'll pass you all over to Jock. He's the guy that passed you over to last week. Please give him some support when you get over there. And give me 2 ticks. But it's nice to see you, Frenchie, and you, Goddess, but obviously everybody as well. But these are people who just drop in occasionally who I know through streaming. And you. You're going to have to come onto our TeamSpeak at one point and play something together. Right. Let me pass you all over to Jock. And I should be on next week. As far as I know, I don't think there's any issue, so it should be next week. I know soon I will have to go away, but next week shouldn't be a problem. Right, see you all. Thanks for coming. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you again next week with a bit of luck. Cheers.